All right, we're going to move along here to part 2 of our interview with Jerry Rickrode and Brian Gryboski, of course, the Hall of Fame for the MAC for Jerry Rickrode here in 2024. Jerry, you talk about, different guys and making impacts, and we see the banners here, and this gymnasium has totally changed. Those brown bleachers that were filled with those 3,000 people, and the place was rocking. Talk a little bit about, different levels of guys, and again, there's just so many to talk about, but just so many players that earned those accolades and what they were able to accomplish.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking a little while ago. I was talking to somebody about the gym itself. And it's so much brighter now. And we kind of liked it when it was darker, But you fill this place up and you have that atmosphere. But I mean, this gym is fantastic now. But John. Any success I had, any coach that tells you it's all coaching, that's not true. I mean, it's, the players that you recruit and the mindset that they have and what they bring to the floor every day at practice and then going into games and how they focus on that, that's what puts you over the top of a lot of programs. And we had guys that just had that focus. And I could prepare our teams in those days, and we could really concentrate on what we wanted to do to the next team or things that we wanted to take away, and they would buy in completely. It wasn't, I don't know about that, or maybe mom's telling me to do this, or dad's telling me to do this, or this guy's. They bought in, and that's where the success came from, to be honest with you.
Brian, you had a strong, your dad had a strong personality. It was kind of like all in, hey, you guys are going to work hard, you're going to do this. But talk a little bit about what it was like. Do you remember the intense practices with Coach Rickrode, or only the fun times with the games? But I'm pretty sure he's pretty tough on you guys in practice, and you might have a story or two.
There's a lot of stories I could tell. You'd probably have to edit this before you hear it. But no, I mean, in just back to something I heard Coach Rickrode say, like that recruiting process, one of the things that allowed me to make that decision so easily was this guy was either at every one of my high school games my senior year or had an assistant there or one of his players. And that was very similar to how he coached. So our practices, they were wars. They were all out battles. We got after it hard. You think back to your younger years, you'd have a practice where the coach would say, hey, we're gonna go easy today. That never happened. Before some of our biggest games, we're playing 5-on-5. Guys are pushing and shoving, getting each other's faces. That was the atmosphere, and that was the style that Coach Rickrode had. And when you're that age, you don't really have an appreciation for it. As you get older, you realize that level of toughness. I had that at home, obviously, with my parents and my dad being really tough on us as kids, but that carried over to the college years. And I have a lot to be appreciative of, because that's what allowed for not just a great amount of success in college playing basketball, but also in life afterwards.
Is there, a guy or two that you love going at it with at practice, or a player you like going against when you guys played in your games? Or I'm sure there's plenty of memories, but you had to think of, one or two that were fun.
And this could go in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
The one that comes to mind, I think it was my freshman year, right? With Chris, we had a practice before a big game, and we were doing, I think it was like a gauntlet drill down at this basket here, and I was paired up with Chris, and he and I got into a little bit, and I don't remember.
That was Chris Parker he's talking about.
Yeah.
Chris was 2 years ahead of you, I think.
I was a freshman.
You were a freshman, he was a senior. So we did some different types of drills. One was called Guts, one was called Gauntlet and stuff like that. We tried to promote the toughness. Well, when you put two guys together that have that mentality, sometimes it... And I remember that night, it was the night before a game, and I took Chris to the hospital afterwards to get checked out. And everything was okay. We played the next day. There wasn't any concussion status or anything like that. You just kind of laced it up and played the next day. And I think what Brian alluded to is true. Like, we never really had pre-game practices. We would concentrate on what we were going to take away, but we didn't have a walk-through practice or anything like that. It was going full tilt and just get your legs ready on your own for the next day, because we're not going to take a day off from what we need to do and how we need to play.
How about the factor you guys making playoffs and winning games? Did you feel like these other teams might have more skills? You guys had that element of toughness, good coaching, where you guys just had something about you that you stuck together, that you were a close-knit group?
I mean, I think back to my junior year when we hosted the Final 8 here with the chance to go to the Final 4. 2 consecutive nights, we had really, really tough games. We played Rowan on Friday night, beat them in double overtime, and then we had to come back on Saturday and we played Hunter, who I think only had, one loss at the time. Yeah. And to your point, I mean, Hunter and Rowan both were loaded with super athletic kids. I want to say we were down by 15 points in the first half against Hunter here on our home court with a chance to win that game. You go to the Final 4, and we came in at halftime and regrouped. And to your point, I think it was just that mental toughness. It was that close-knit family type atmosphere that we had that helped us pull through. We chipped away, and we ended up, I think, winning the game by 3-4 points and had our first trip to the Final 4 in school's history. So I would argue that they were probably a better basketball team from a physical athleticism standpoint, but I think we were better just with how we played the game, good basketball IQ, and we played really well together.
Jerry, the memories just seem like they continue, which is what you want. And between your players or the administration or some fans that are still coming to these games, 20-some years later, it's nice that there's good feelings here about Wilkes University basketball.
Yeah, it's funny because you know how close-knit the community is. That was one of the things that always kept me here. We made it our home, and just the fan support. But I could walk downtown to this day, and somebody will come up to me and say, "Hey, Coach, I never really got to meet you, but I was at that crazy game against Cabrini in 1996 at your gym," and it's neat to get that from people that sticks in their memory. You know what I mean? And the fans, the faculty, who were big supporters of our team, the parents, the administration here. It was at a time where the basketball kind of, I don't want to say dominated the school. We didn't do that, but we were a focal point, and we got a lot of buy-in from a lot of people from a standpoint of support. And you got to think about this too. In a lot of those teams in those days, there wasn't a lot to do other than go to games. I mean, there wasn't the internet, there wasn't cell phones, there wasn't anything like that. And kids came to the games, and people that weren't even affiliated with the school. I mean, we got probably half to 3/4 of our crowd were just local people that just wanted to see, a good product on the floor. And I think one of the best compliments that I ever got, the person didn't even know I was sitting there. I was at a game. I think I was watching a game in the McGrain tournament, high school tournament. It was at the CYC. And I'm sitting there, and there was a couple of guys sitting to my left, and they're just talking, and I'm not eavesdropping, but they were talking loudly. And I heard the one guy say, "George, geez, I went over and watched Wilkes play the other night. Man, they're fun to watch. You should go see them play." So when you get compliments when people don't even know you're there, it's nice, So yeah, it was special.